Master fisherman. I like that one. Be able to do 10 things at once. Controlling the weather. We have some X-Men fans, I think. All right, so our counter has slowed down, so we will get going on to the next slide. So this one is going to go a little quicker. So we're going to have some fun with a quiz. So when you go to the next slide, it will ask you to put your name in first. So you can make up a name if you want, first name, last name. I will tell you that will display on the screen. Just be cautious there. But we'll go through a series of just fun questions and then just respond to it, and we'll show the results here at the end. So be quick to get your name in because each slide is timed, so where we don't look it up on the internet. Again, this is just for fun, so have some fun with it. Are we ready? First question, when was Indiana Department of Environmental Management established? And you can see this is going to go quick, so get your name in and select your option really, really quick. Okay, see how that one was really, really quick? We have a wide variety of answers for it. The correct answer is 1986. So 31% of us got that one correct. Next question, when was Partners for Pollution Prevention formed? Make your selection. You have about 5 more seconds. Okay, there's the results. Correct answer is 1998. Next question, when is the annual Partners Conference scheduled for in 2021, this year? Is it going to be canceled July 24th, September 23rd, or October 14th? Just a couple more seconds. Excellent. I'm glad everyone knows it is still on this year, and it is September 23rd, and we hopefully can maybe see each other in person. All right, Ben, well done. Glenn, well done. So awesome participation, wonderful job. Okay, so now we're going to go on to a little bit more open discussion type, and we just want some general feedback. So how many companies have a carbon reduction goal? And we'll give people time to discuss. All right, it looks like most are in, and a slight majority do have a carbon reduction goal. Let's try to narrow it in for those who do. For the next question, what is your publicly stated carbon reduction goal? So this is just open text coming in. All right, really good. For a little interaction here, we have some very aggressive carbon zero goals. Looks like everything from 2025 up through 2035. Would anybody like to talk about their goal just briefly? We have time in this session to have a little bit of open mic time. Anybody want to say anything about their goal and some of their challenges with it? Do we need to remove their mics or can they come on?
They should be able to come on, Chad. From AstraZeneca's perspective, I can start from the standpoint that we have a very strong viewpoint of zero carbon by 2025, which is extremely aggressive. But from that perspective, we're taking it very seriously, and from that, there's a lot of resources currently that we're putting into our facilities. I can tell you in particular at Mount Vernon, our biggest concern right now is the use of our natural gas boiler systems, which are imperative for the operation of our facility. So we are absolutely looking at what other technologies are out there, either from a sequestration perspective to reduce our carbon footprint, or from a standpoint of using a biofuel of some sort that's renewable. So we're spending a lot of our efforts currently, and will be for the next 2 years for sure, on trying to identify what's the best opportunity for us to reduce our carbon footprint, in particular with regard to our use of natural gas.
All right, who else wants to give a little overview? Yeah, I can't see if you raise your hand. If you raise your hand, go ahead and just come off mute. Is anyone looking at alternative fuels? All right, we're being quiet today. All right, we'll move on to the next question. And this has been a one you hear quite a bit or see quite a bit of publicity around, and it's regarding single use or plastic reduction goal. Okay, looks like we got a few more people still to participate. All right. For the most part, we do not have a plastic reduction goal for those participants today. I do know the southern part of the state is known as the plastic belt, with all of the manufacturing of plastics in the area. But that is definitely a challenge for many people in looking at the plastic risk in the environment. With that, for those who do have plastic or focus on plastic recycling, who does your company use as a vendor or partner for plastic recycling? And this should be open text as well. I saw still searching for vendors, and now obviously there's a few vendors popping up that you'll be able to solicit that feedback off this slide. And there's a recycle internally. All right. So we will share this for those who are looking for recyclers to be able to get a few names off of it for persons you can reach out to. Next question. What is your site's greatest environmental challenge? And we try to summarize this down to a few categories. Is it a regulatory issue, training, internal company goals, simply resource constraint, or just a general other? All right, looks like resources is leading the way quite a bit there. All right, we're going to move on to the next question. So this will be our last question in this section. What topics would you like to see at an upcoming partners meeting? And this will help item and partners plan future topics and so forth. Great feedback. We'll give this just a little bit more. I really like the feedback on wishing to see what others are doing. For example, the practical sustainability achievements, how our persons are achieving their goals. Really good feedback. We're up to 32 responses. We'll give this about another 30 seconds to a minute. All right, so we've slowed down quite a bit.
Chad, there is a question on the chat about what is Breitmark. So if anybody knows what Breitmark is, if they would like to chime in or respond on chat, that'd be fantastic.
All right, so I returned back to the meeting here, so we won't see the Slido anymore. Drop some comments also in the chat on how you like Slido and the interaction portion of it. We will also add this at the end to the files within Teams and share with Item so they can post as well. So you can get the feedback and the responses such as the plastic recycling and so forth directly from the presentation. So appreciate it and thank you very much. And I will turn it back to Kevin.
Thanks, Chad. So does anybody have anything that they would like to add to the conversation? If you would, again, feel free to go to chat and respond. If you have a conversation you want to have, you can raise your hand or just unmute and bring it up. We're all friends here, so it'd be great to have the conversations. We are a few minutes early from the standpoint of our agenda, but I'm sure we will make up for that as we go. So we're not going to hold up on that. I will give Ben a chance to get his presentation up on the screen. So while he's doing that, I'll go over just a few logistics issues with us. Again, this meeting is being recorded, so you should be able to see that. So if there's issues with that, be cognizant of the fact that we're recording this so that it can be played back later for those that were not able to attend. Secondly, if you have your camera on, if you could turn your cameras off while we're doing the presentations, that would be fantastic. And then lastly, if you are not participating through a conversation, if you could just mute your mic and then unmute your mic if you have any questions, or feel free to use the meeting chats. We are monitoring that so that we can add back to that if there's any questions to our presenters or to the group in whole. And we did have a question of what is Breitmark. So if anybody knows what Breitmark is, if you would like to, put that into the conversation chat or come online and explain it to us, that would be fantastic. I will tell you, we're not familiar with it as well in the southern Indiana range where we're located. So other than that, I will turn it over to Ben McKnight, who has done a fantastic job as our executive director and continues to do a fantastic job. So, Ben, I will give it to you.
Well, thank you very much. We got a little, we're going to flip this around just a little bit. I just want to thank everyone for being here and thank AstraZeneca for hosting. I would like to introduce Julia Wickard. She's the Assistant Commissioner for Indiana Department of Environmental Management. Julia, I'm going to go ahead and shut my camera off and mic off and let you go for it.
Okay. Well, good morning. Thanks, Ben. Thanks, Chad and Kevin, for hosting this great interactive discussion that we've had so far, and looking forward to the rest of the morning. My name is Julia Wickard, and I serve as an Assistant Commissioner in the Office of Program Support here at IDEM, and also serve as the Agricultural Liaison. So if any of you have agricultural issues, you certainly can run those through me here in the agency. And it's really great to be with you. I know as the executive committee's been talking over the last several months since our annual conference, they really wanted to figure out a way that we could do a quarterly meeting. And we're all getting really good with technology and learning new platforms, as we just learned about Slido this morning. So, why not utilize it and stay connected? So excited that we could continue this conversation. And I know Ben has several updates from the partners that he's going to share with you in just a little bit. We've certainly learned since COVID has happened, and I'm ready to not use that as an excuse anymore, as I'm sure many of you are too, that life has to go on. And we have to continue to do the work, to continue to be in conversations and network. And so I thought this morning's way of getting that interactivity was really well done. So really want to thank AstraZeneca for stepping up to the plate, putting this program together today, and for showcasing your company for all of us. You're going to hear a little bit later this morning from our Business and Legislative Liaison, Aaron Morehouse, but I will just share with you that it's certainly been an interesting legislative session here at IDEM. Aaron will share with you more of the details, but it's been an interesting session, a lot of interesting dialogue happening in both the House and the Senate chambers. Due to social distancing restrictions, that the House has moved to the Indiana Government Center, and the Senate is still in the Senate chamber, although part of them are in the gallery where the public usually sits. So it's just been an interesting time, and I know you're going to look forward to hearing from Aaron Morehouse in just a little bit about the bills that we have been following and are truly a part of. So in advance, I want to thank Aaron Morehouse for joining us today. We are really active in the office, working on a lot of programs, and I could go on and on talking about the great work that our staff has been able to do, working from home, working in the office, collaborating with one another. So I just want to share a few updates with all of you. Our Governor's Awards for Environmental Excellence, actually the nomination process closed on April 5th. And that is the state's highest environmental award that's bestowed from the Office of the Governor. We did receive 16 applications, and there are 7 categories, and we definitely have applications that cover all 7 categories, so we're very excited about that. One of those is pollution prevention, and we are in the process of evaluating those applications. Our Compliance and Technical Assistance Program, CTAP, is verifying compliance on all of those projects. Ultimately, we will have a committee that will score those applications, and then the recommendation is made to the governor's office for consideration. So, and the real highlight of it all is that we actually present those awards at our Partners for Pollution Prevention Conference that is planned to be held in person in September. So we're excited that we're gearing up for that. We also just finished a round of community recycling grants. This program was relaunched back in 2019 and has a $500,000 appropriation to that fund. And in 2019, we were able to kind of rebrand it and bring it back to help communities, small businesses, schools, and nonprofits because we currently have the Recycling Market Development Board, which is bestows grants to those larger recycling grant projects. But we really needed something to address and get into the hands of in communities and with the entities that I just mentioned. So this year we had $500,000 once again, and thanks to the legislature and the state budget agency for appropriating that and enabling us to move forward with that program. We did receive 34 applications, and we are in the process of awarding 21 of those applications based upon merit and the kinds of applications that were presented. We plan to appropriate over $444,000 to those grants. And like I said, these grants are really ones to assist local communities, schools, nonprofits, small business, municipalities that may not fall into that bigger umbrella of equipment needs that the Recycling Market Development Board and that grant program bestows. So we're really excited about that. So again, we've got a lot going on. We're working on Earth Day, April 22nd. We've got a lot of our staff doing classroom education virtually, just like we are today, using different platforms to get into schools across Indiana. We've got a lot of work being done in electronic waste. We just hired a new program manager for that role, as our current manager left and went to a different part of state government. And so we're excited. We're getting her geared up and ready. We're planning an e-waste collection event in June. So we've got a lot happening in that area. Certainly, you're going to kind of hear a little bit about the work that CTAP is doing, and really proud of our staff in CTAP that continues to be able to meet the challenge of working with and addressing those concerns of business and industry when it comes to permitting and compliance questions. They do it professionally. They do it with a conversation, whether it's over the phone or through Zoom or Teams, or even sometimes we have been able to go on site and meet with them. So we've just got a lot going on here at IDEM, and excited that we can be a partner with this group and continue to showcase you whenever we can within our staffing conversations here in the agency. So with that, Ben, I don't want to take much more time. I'll turn it back over to you. I plan to be with you all morning, and it's my pleasure and honor to be able to work with all of you. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Julia. This is basically our first quarterly meeting that we've had since March of 2020. We had our annual conference in September. It was all the technology was all new to all of us. There had been very few conferences that were based on virtual conferences. It took a lot of work, a lot of hard work from a lot of people, and I hoped you enjoyed it. First of all, I want to ask everybody to make sure that they have their cameras shut off, and especially their mics. When we have the presenters, speaking, that when they get feedback from that, a lot of times you can hear that, especially over headsets. Second of all, I want to thank AstraZeneca. When we talked about having a quarterly meeting, we knew we had to have something. AstraZeneca stepped up to the plate immediately and said, "Hey, we will host a meeting." And Kevin, Chad, and Michael Smith and the rest of your team, thank you very much. We had a conference at your facility several years ago, and it was a wonderful conference or quarterly meeting. It would have been nice to do this in person. And you talk about, folks living in the South and how things are, in the central Indiana and northern Indiana. One of the things that living in central Indiana, it did take 3.5, 4 hours to drive. So, having a quarterly meeting that we can do this, and you're not getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning is actually, it's kind of nice to be able to do this. We do have some items to talk about when we do our updates for the partners. We've actually increased our members this year, and we've lost a few, and we'll go over that a little more when we do the partner updates at approximately 10:55 to 11 a.m. So with that being said, I would like to go ahead, Kevin, and turn it over to you and Michael. Michael Smith, the Director of Site Services, and Kevin Cottwright, the Senior SHE Specialist. If you want to go ahead with your presentation for your journey of sustainability, that'll be great. So I hope everybody enjoys it. It's, to be honest with you, I was so excited we were going to do this. I normally write out a one-page Word document, and we had our little sub meetings and our little trials, and I was so excited to do this that I got some stuff written out on a paper. I didn't even take the time to do that. I was just so happy we could actually do this. So Kevin, if you guys want to go ahead with the presentation on your sustainability journey, it's all yours.
Thanks, Ben. So I was just in conversation with Michael Smith, who has now joined as you see his video. Michael is our Director of Facility Services. He's also over an engineering department now, or team, and is vital to the complete operations of this facility. So Michael has a lot of vast experiences, in particular with regard to natural resources and the use of those natural resources. So I will turn it over without any further ado to Michael Smith, who will be presenting basically AstraZeneca's sustainability models, in particular around our natural resources. Michael?
Good morning. Thank you for inviting me. I'm in the process of sharing my screen. Please let me know when you can see the first slide.
You are live, sir.
Okay, good.
And you may want to maximize it, Michael.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, just go to presentation mode.
That's what I'm trying to do here.
Bottom right.
The trouble when you do go to presentation mode, now what you see is the next slide. Do you not?
Yeah, we're seeing your screen. That's okay. You can go back if you want, or either. We're just trying to maximize it on the screen as best
you can go to display settings and toggle back to just show.
That's what I was thinking. That's what I was trying to. Right here, you can do.
Yes, switch.
That's what we were speaking. Does that look better?
Yes.
Looks fantastic.
Yes. Okay, so good morning. I'll give a quick introduction. I've been with AstraZeneca. I live in the Gibson County, Indiana area, the small German town of Hauptstadt, Indiana, have my entire life. So I spent the last 13 years working for Indianapolis Power and Light. Did major CapEx engineering for all three power plants that they maintain in Petersburg, Martinsville, and at Harding Street there on the south side of the loop in Indy. So didn't really want to relocate to Indianapolis with the situation at Petersburg. So had the opportunity to come here, and it's been a breath of fresh air. Working with we've added a lot of talent in engineering here. We've added several from local industry. We've done a lot of infrastructure upgrades at this plant because we're bringing new product lines in, and it's exciting times. So and the talent that Chad and Kevin have and where they come from and their background in industries and the SHE the EHS environment has been wonderful. So you could see on this first slide just how engaged this particular plant is. We take our Dow Jones Sustainability Index position very seriously, as do our environmental stewardship programs and the PPP with the state. So if you're not familiar with this facility, we are just about 3 to 4 or 5 miles west of Vectron's A.B. Brown Station on Indiana 62. We're kind of halfway between Evansville and Mount Vernon. We sit on about 90 acres. So this is one of the largest pharma plants that AZ operates in North America. And it typically has been strictly for solid oral dosage diabetic drugs. So when you look at the products down in the lower right-hand corner, everything you see, less the two patented drug names Tagrisso and Calquence, are different variations of diabetic drugs that we make. They have different release rates, but our diabetes business has just taken off. We've nearly doubled production last 2 years with China, Brazil, even in the States. The FDA has found that this product has terrific benefits now for heart failure beyond diabetes, but for heart failure and kidney disease. So these products are just, we're nearly doubling our tablet rate. We've got projects where we're trying to redo the tooling on several tablet presses. I mean, we got tablet presses putting out over 1 million tablets per hour now at 55 RPM. So some cool things going on there. But I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the two drugs on the top left-hand corner. Tagrisso, we are a second supplier along with our Sweden facility. It is a lymphoma or a lung cancer drug that if you Google that and read about that, for people with stage 4 lung cancer, it's just tremendous, the effects it's having to help those patients. So we are in the process of adding a suite for that, and we've been through all the trials, and we'll be in production this summer on our first cancer drug. Likewise, Calquence is another drug that we've been given the ability to manufacture here, and it's for certain types of blood cancer. So exciting times here for this facility. It was a former Bristol Myers Squibb facility, became AZ in 2015. But as you can see, our complexity, and what makes us so unique here is the HCl process used in a coating, and we've got a lot of hastelloid stainless steels in our products. So we're very unique in the type of equipment we have, and our diversity of products. So from a corporate standpoint, I use this slide from a corporate presentation because I kind of want to set the ground rules for why AZ is so big on sustainability. I mean, they are so passionate about access to healthcare. Even with our new vaccine, it's going to be no profit to AZ, and as far as it's being dispensed in over 100 countries right now. But we have the strategy around these 3 pillars that put the health at the heart of our work, and that's for the heart of our business is for giving access to healthcare to patients. They are extremely passionate about the environment. You're going to see that here shortly from a video I'm going to show you. The employees, the patients, the environment, and communities we reach out to promote equality and prosperity for all. So there's tremendous amount of ethics and transparency in what we do. And as a person working here, it gave me a renewed respect for the integrity they have and our values. And so I'm gonna back up, and so I listed those values at the top of slide 2. So we follow the science, we put patients first, we play to win, we do the right thing, and we're entrepreneurial. And everything AZ does, even in our team meetings and that sort of thing, we challenge each other on those values. So I think it's important to note that. So I'm going to show you a quick video. This is a corporate video. So keep in mind, you're talking about the UK and Sweden and Germany and all above. But I want you to watch this and just understand the journey from 2015 to 25 and where AZ is going. And it'll help set the basis for my discussion through this presentation. There we go. I think it's launching now.
Michael, we cannot hear your video.
Okay, so that's just a quick video clip. I just took an excerpt of that video to give you some, to give you some bandwidth, if you will, of where we're at and the passion around where we started and where we're headed. So back in 2015, they set some targets. The commitment was to actually double our environmental efficiency with respect to energy, water, and waste targets. And here at Mount Vernon, we're seeing tremendous opportunity towards that. So, as far as our pharmaceutical stewardship in the environment, our PI management, our goal to source 100% renewable electricity, which we are doing right now with credits, and we'll talk later about our solar fields and our opportunities for cogeneration and things like that. But against our 2015 baseline, you can see there in that center circle how we're doing here in Mount Vernon with respect to what our targets are for 2020. And all the while I mentioned, we've nearly our production was up 26% last year in tablet production with certain amounts of tablet complexity based on different coating styles, like I mentioned, the cancer drugs, the diabetic drugs. So it makes this all the more difficult because our production volumes are rising, but we're seeing our sustainability goals being met in 2 years running now. So by 2025, each North American plant, actually each global plant, NAZ's footprint is supposed to be carbon neutral. It's a big push on our inhaler propellants. So we'll talk a little bit later about what we've done with chillers and refrigerants here, and the planting of trees. We've got a wildlife habitat here. We sit on 90 acres of grasslands and trees. So some pretty cool stuff here. I mean, the commitment is there when we say we follow the science, and we're honoring our commitments. So this is a slide my comrade Kevin Concrete put together in some of our sustainability reporting that we do monthly, just to show you an example over time from 2015 to 2020. If you look at the tabular data, as you could see, we normalize our tablet production to our energy usage. So we're looking at natural gas and electricity, and we convert both of those into kilowatt hours or megawatt hours. And you can see our efficiency gains in the last 5 years and how many tablets we're actually producing per kilowatt hour of electricity. So you can see that that 200% that we talked about is indeed in range, and we are flat making the product here. Like I said, we're going to see, in essence, about a 50% increase in total production of tablets across 2 calendar years, but yet we're still pulling this off. And we'll explain later what our methodology is of how we're doing it. So I think at press time, when we did this last year, we were 180% year to date to baseline against the 2015 corporate baseline, given our production and energy usage back 5 years ago. So any comments beyond what I said, Kevin? Anything to add here?
No, Michael, you hit it straight away. I think the thing to realize is back in 2015, when we established ourselves as AstraZeneca in Mount Vernon, Indiana, we were making a little under 1 billion tablets. As of today, in 2020, we were at 3.5 billion tablets that are going, as Michael said, worldwide. So when you take a look at from that perspective and realize that our natural resource consumption has actually decreased in that process, it just means that our methods and our madness, if you will, and our core values are really taking part, and it's a all out effort from everyone at this facility that has really helped us get to where we are. So, we can't say enough how important everyone is, and every asset that we have at this facility working to accomplish these goals, because we can't do it alone. So, excellent job, and that's really all I had to say for that, Michael.
Okay. So the next thing that we've tackled, and I want to give my comrades in we call it the She Group or EHS, but Chad and Kevin, when they arrived here, Chad worked for Mead Johnson, and Kevin has worked for several key industries, and we recognize that our pharma and GMP waste account for almost half of all waste, and we repurpose all that to steam energy. So we have some high density compactors on site. So we take our pharma waste, our gowning waste, everything, it's commingled, and that is trucked to Covanta on the south side of Indianapolis. That plant, I think most of you are aware that that's just north of IPL's Harding Street station power plant there on 37. So we do take that there, and all that gets repurposed to steam for the city of Indianapolis. From a material reuse perspective, I give some examples here, and Kevin could talk to this in detail if we had more time, but we have a tremendous amount of fiber drums, wood pallets. You start looking at the things that we recycle, the fuels that we do recycle, what we treat and dispose of. We just do neutralization treatment here on site. But beyond that, we were sitting at the beginning of this calendar year about 4 to 6% to the landfill. So we have a corporate sustainability CapEx organization, and we've petitioned them on a number of projects, and we're going to talk to you about those. We've got at least a half dozen corporate energy projects going on, one of which is we bought a new compactor for the office space, for our cafeteria waste. So all the paper and all those sorts of things are now being compacted. And we used to have at least 7 loads a week going out of here to the landfill. So now every other week we got a compactor box going with some of our other GMP waste and what have you to Covanta. And as of March 2021, a month ahead of schedule, we are now 0% to landfill here at this Mount Vernon facility. We're proud of that. So we got nothing going to the landfill. And if we had more time, again, the cardboards, the plastics, the papers, and things that we can recycle, pallets and drums, even if it's economic neutral, we're doing it. And my friend Kevin here is a big part of that. But beyond that, we've become very frugal and economical at how well we're compacting and taking things to Indianapolis for repurposing the steam. So we have a green team here that's 80 members strong at this plant. So there's about 700 people that work here. So you see a few signatures there. I mean, they range from lab people to operators to engineers and, people that are really interested that work in our GMP space and outside our GMP space. But, things from Earth Day to recycling to, and I've talked about that. We've got a wildlife habitat on site, and we've got walk trails and all sorts of things. So our grasses, we're even looking at composting. Our Airmark operates a cafeteria here for employees, and so the food waste is being looked at right now. I talked about the compactors. We've got 3 compactors on site. We got a solar field installation. Just starting construction, supposed to be online by November 1. I'm going to get into that. We've done a tremendous amount of work in our boiler operation. We've got 3 steam boilers, capacity of about 100,000 pounds per hour of steam max. We don't operate there. We're in the 30 to 40,000 pound per hour range. But, we have done tremendous amount of tuning, especially in low load situations with these boiler loads. They're non-linear. So our turn down ratios of our boilers, we've worked hard at optimizing that. We've got over 100 air handlers on site that provide conditioned air for our production suites. So steam and condensate efficiencies. We bring it at right now about 80% of the condensate back to the powerhouse, which is, we're pretty proud of that. So very little wastage in our condensate receivers. And, we've got all kinds of predictive maintenance programs on our steam traps and condensate receivers right now, and some insulation, energy efficiency projects, cool things going on. But we have a Green Team newsletter, and I could go on and on. The excitement of what's spawning from an innovation perspective out of this group. So here's a panoramic view of the site, and just to give you a feel of the lay of the land, so to speak. So if you're looking from bottom of page panoramically up to the top of the page, you're looking from west to east. So you could see in the back, our permitted parameters, obviously our particulate matter, NOx, HCl, which we use a very, very dilute solution to that in our coating process, but CO2, water vapor, and alcohols and ketones. So, but our wildlife habitat sits in the back there. I think that's about 40 acres. We got walking trails for employees. It is an area we could expand our plan into, but we would displace that area if need be. You can see our waste treatment facility there at the back of the where we do our water treatment and our pH treatment. Just to the southwest corner, we're building 8 acres of solar, about 2 megawatts. We're about a 4 to 5 megawatt facility. So long and short of that, we're looking at that. We have a cogeneration feasibility study underway where we're contemplating, displacing our steam production. If we could cogen in the 3 to 4 megawatt range and complement our solar production, we could become potentially free of the grid, only requiring it for backup. And we're long-term looking at green gas, synthetic gases. We've got a corporate team working on a clean heat study, to whereas we would, work towards our carbon neutrality goals in that manner. Also, we're going to talk about, we are bringing a new potable water line. We've got a 40-year-old bell and spigot carbon steel line that's 14-inch diameter. We struggle with cross chlorination. So we're bringing it from a new city tower that Mount Vernon built. It's going to allow us to alter our automatic flushing plans for biological growth, particularly in the summer months, help with our water conservation efforts. So a lot of cool things going on here, but a picture's worth 1,000 words. So I wanted to show you this and give you an idea of panoramically the size of the site, just how much real estate we have. I mean, we've looked at everything from leasing land to local utility vectoring for maybe some solar lease opportunities. A lot of opportunity in this space. So I've got a couple backup slides too that I wanted to talk to you about. If you remember earlier, we talked about our modeling against production capacity. So we also model off of heating degree days and cooling degree days. Our energy usage is very, very linear, if you will, with the weather patterns. So we've used 10 years worth of weather data from Vectren. We've used weather data from the NOAA, and we actually model our usage of natural gas, water, and electricity, and do some interpolation, if you will, against weather data, just in degree days. So this is just a simple slide of that. And again, with over 100 air handlers on the roof of this facility or inside and mezzanines, providing very precise temperate conditions for our product suites, we don't have any margin for failure or air. We've got to be spot on with our temperatures. And so, the cooling coils, the hot water coils, and those sorts of things, energy is, I would say, probably even more so dependent upon ambient temperature conditions as it is our production volumes. So I put this chart together. I'm kind of passionate about this. In the last couple of years, I mentioned what we call our NRRGG corporate CapEx funds, strictly for energy and sustainability. It's not used for any other production capital requirements. But this is just a flavor of projects that we've completed or are completing in the arena of sustainability. First and foremost, we got a couple large air handlers in our 122 production suite that used to have large belt-driven blowers, if you will. An air handler typically has one big motor, one big fan. Well, what we've done on some of these larger air handlers, we've got an array of small direct drive motors with variable frequency drives. And so they've got control algorithms and PLCs where the air change reductions are driven to be much more efficient. So we're only operating motors and drives on that fan wall, if you will. If you can picture an array of fans, maybe we might have 20 or 30 fans on that one wall. And so rather than having one large fan running all the time, maybe giving us more air changes than we need, we can lower the air change rates while maintaining the compliance in the production suite. So had substantial payback with this. Less steam usage, less chill water usage, and less fan horsepower. We had the year before last put a fair number of new magnetic flow meters in where we're monitoring our water usages in certain formulation suites, particularly in our Bole coaters, our tablet presses, whatever. So we're looking for conservation opportunities to lessen cleaning and purge cycles. And we call it campaigning with our supply chain organization, our formulation group, our site services group, and supply chain. We get together and we talk about how we schedule batches so we can minimize cleans in between batches, so we're not purging and cleaning with potable water and purified water, or reverse osmosis water, if you will. So big efforts there in water reduction, just in the way we schedule and run product. We've got VFDs on our boiler feed pumps on our in our powerhouse now. A lot of lighting retrofits. I mean, from the cafes to the offices, outdoor fixtures, some of our airlock areas, and we've gotten vector and rebates back on that. Some of our old Bristol-Myers squib suites, which were heart patient products, they had single pass heat recovery. And so we've changed that to where we recirculate the air. So that's another example, some air handler efficiency work. Again, I talked about some of our gowning disposal waste reductions and how we do that, and maybe damage fiber drums and how we store that in that, crush them in compactors, and for maximize road transportation. We had a couple smaller chillers. We've got 6 large chillers in our powerhouse. We had due to CFCs got away from R22. That was the last 2 machines we had. We've got a new 1,250 ton chiller to complement our other 5 large chillers. Nearly all these have VFDs on them now. So there was, and we've done a tremendous amount of load leveling with these 5 now and how they sequence. I mentioned our city water supply main, and where we're trying to improve our chlorination, and secondly, our flush times. We've got a compressed air optimization project in a GMP space where we're cross tying systems between buildings and putting in some tanks and demand controllers to reduce energy. And lastly, we are building a 2 megawatt ground mount solar network, tying it in at our 12 kV switchgear. We've got a study ongoing with Vectron right now, as we could potentially put solar or electricity back on the grid. I don't think it's really that economical for us at 3 cents a kilowatt hour. So we intend to use everything we make. So we've got about 6,000 panels on 7 acres, and even looking to expand that maybe with some batteries at a later date. So anyhow, I'll stop right there, and I'll end the slideshow. I'm going to stop sharing, and maybe I'll open it up for some questions or comments from the group. And I guess before I do that, Kevin or Chad, anything you want to add, or maybe embellish things maybe I missed, or things you'd like to comment on from the presentation?
Just one ad. It really takes a whole lot more than just Kevin and Michael and myself and the environmental health and safety team to make an accomplishment. We have a green team at our facility with almost 100 employees participating in green efforts for sustainability. So that's a whole lot of minds and energy being put towards making the site more green. So that's really important to have, and empowering those people to do things. I mean, simple stuff like our wildlife habitat area, and just soliciting. We need people to help, and finding environmentalists out in our work staff that can help us maintain it, and list out different plant foliage and different things out there that I would have to look everyone up, and they could walk out there and tell what it is. I mean, just amazing the number of people who want to get involved and can be such a great asset for your programs. And I think we have a very strong commitment across our entire site for being more sustainable.
Okay, at this point, I'll open up for any questions or comments from the presentation. Maybe, I mean, I try not to get into, I'm an engineer by discipline, so I try to, I'm pretty passionate about project work. I like project work, and I'm excited because of the innovation of where energy's going these days. I mentioned I work for a traditional coal and gas fired utility for 13 years, and I see the opportunities that we have here, and they're exciting. So it's fun to do these type of things. A lot of work, a lot of challenges, but any questions from our panel today?
I had one question. I was a little bit late, but maybe you talked about it. Didn't know if you had, with all the things that you'd done, looking at doing any ISO certification on site facility sustainability efforts.
I can answer that. This is Kevin. So we have looked at sustainability in particular, with regard to the sustainability standard. We do a fantastic job from the standpoint of management systems. And when I say we, I'm talking about the facility in particular. I've had an opportunity to work with some great individuals here. And my background was exactly around the ISO perspective. So when I got here, the first thing I was thinking was, how do we take ISO system and sort of overlay it on top of AstraZeneca. And as I've had an opportunity to understand our systems more, I now understand the reason why that they do what they do. They really, it's sort of ingrained, if you will, into the DNA of this facility. So because of that, the want to actually be ISO certified is not extremely high, because we sort of have our own processes that we follow. However, because individuals do want to know, what type of management system do you have in place. We do talk with and work with, individuals that specialize in 14,001, 50,001, 45,001, and others. So There's been a lot of emphasis that we have looked at, in particular around sustainability, and to identify what's other things that we can learn from those processes in order to help make us even leaner. In particular, with regard to again our very ambitious zero carbon by 2025. So we are really leaning on all aspects we possibly can from an engineering perspective to understand what can we do differently, that still allows us to make the medications for our patients, but in such a way that we can do it the most efficient way possible. So we're really learning as we go on the new technologies that are out there, in particular with sustainability. But at this stage, we are working more with our engineering teams and our outside engineering firms as well on understanding some of the new leaner technology. Did I sort of beat around that bush, or did I take care of that for you?
No, you took care of it. A lot of people find that the management system is just good enough to do. It's just some of those standards are fairly newer than the 14,001. I didn't know if you had any interaction with them and got some of your learnings from them, or it was really more your own path. It sounds like it was more your own path.
Yeah, Scott. And Scott, let me add to that a little bit, because the thing that we do here is we really spend a lot of time with our engineering firm. So we have had many audits, in particular because first our AstraZeneca global team requires us to make sure that we're transparent with our process. But then the second piece of it is we have found, and in particular with the partners group, which is my plug for the partners, it's such a peer group that we can take our issues and say, hey, this is stuff that we're having issues with. How about you all? And what we find is we all basically have the same focuses and goals. So we sort of use all of the learnings from everyone else to help us identify what's a better way we can do it as well. But we are sort of locked in from the standpoint that FDA does have specific requirements that we have to follow for the production of our medication. So because of that, it does set us back slightly from the standpoint of things that I could do in other industry that I can't do here because of specific regulatory requirements for quality purposes. But we understand that, and we're working through that to identify, well, what's other avenues that we can take that would still help us accomplish being a leaner manufacturing facility, but being a good corporate citizen as well.
Yes, there has been some movement at the EPA around benchmarking for buildings. I don't know if you've heard that. I think I've gotten a bunch of emails around that lately, putting together a platform so that you can actually benchmark your building. Just a suggestion. I don't know if you've had any experience with it. It might be something of a worthy thing to look at.
Are you you think it's more towards the the LEED certification and energy efficiency criteria? Is that where it's headed?
That was where it was before, so I would suspect what they're trying to do is carve out building benchmarking more specific to the type of building now, is what I've been getting emails out from their website. So it's just something that I've started to see some movement on here in the last couple of months. That moving more into commercial. Before it was a lot about LEED with residential and then LEED certified buildings, but they weren't really related to manufacturing. And now I think they have a little bit more in that space than they had before. So
we got a large office building, but the building envelope for our GMP space is large too. We've been concentrating in there because of the age of this facility, being 30, 40 years old. But we would really welcome that too. So that's something I think would be a nice next step for us. Okay.
Yeah, it's new, Scott, and we are doing the same thing because we like the idea of being a LEED certified facility or building in some of our locations, but again, many times for us, I'm sure you all are facing it as well, is it's just a resource constraint of, where do we put the emphasis for our resources for the year? In particular, we're talking capital funds. So, we have really focused at this moment on how to reduce our overall carbon footprint. And then, the other part of that is while we're at that, is it a possibility that we can use some of that learning that we're doing for carbon neutrality also to help us lean some of our building platform as well? Because, as we use our energy, if we're finding more efficient ways of using energy, then we're preventing the use of it in the first place. So that's the best way to become more carbon neutral. So that is things that we take a look at. But then, we also realize that, we are like everybody else, I believe, in the fact that, we're very much resource constrained. So, we're watching what we can do in the same regard, making sure that we're putting the best product we can out for our patients. Does anyone else have any questions they would like to add or comments? There was a chat that was going on the side. The question was asked about our GMP and pharmaceutical waste, and can we do anything to reduce that? And so, I can paraphrase that conversation for those that may not be able to see the chat. But GMP waste for us in particular is interesting. And when I say GMP, some of you will say, well, what does that mean? So basically, for us, it's good manufacturing practices, which is specified by FDA in their regulations on how we are supposed to manage our process in order to make sure that our medications meet a very high quality standard. So from that perspective, what it means is, if you look at it from a food industry perspective, there basically can be no body hair available on the floor. Everything that we use has to be, very clean, almost to the point of sterile. So when we're on the floor, all of our individuals are either in full PPE from head to toe. They must wear gowning as well as hair nets, face masks now because of our COVID situation, which also adds more complexity to our situation. And because of that, we basically are going from our normal day workplace facility into the operational facility, which basically means that we're changing out of our everyday clothes into a more complex, clean environment type of clothing from head to toe, so that when we are in what's the word I'm looking for? So basically, when we do come in contact with the tablet or the active pharmaceutical ingredients, then we are protecting the individuals, ourselves, as well as protecting our patients from anything that we may be bringing into the facility. So what basically happens is that at the end of the day, during breaks, they have to come out of those areas and go back into, if you will, the real world, where they can have a drink of water or tea, go to our cafeteria, and then after that break is over, guess what they have to do? They have to go back and resuit up, in many cases, into brand new PPE. So it is a very complex situation that we're dealing with from that perspective, and we realize that it's important for our patients. So we deal with that GMP waste, which makes up most of our waste stream, and we try to find out how's the best way we can recycle that material. So, we are using reusable gowning products, but we do still have to use PPE, especially if you enter into an active pharmaceutical ingredient suite where exposure is imminent. So at that situation, there's nothing we can do to prevent that PPE from being developed and used, and then have to be discarded. And then that brings us to another point, and that is, any place that there is an active pharmaceutical ingredient that's available, we must, handle that in a completely different manner, because it's very possible that it is cross-contaminated with that active pharmaceutical ingredient. And even though it's a very small potential, we cannot allow ourselves that opportunity where that active pharmaceutical ingredient gets outside of our facility without very, very governed perspective. So that's the reason why also we use Covanta, because we have to make sure that that material is very well governed, so that we do not have an active pharmaceutical ingredient getting out to our community at large, where it could cause concern. So those are a sort of a quick layout of some of the thought process we're doing, but in particular, it's great to work here, and I'm hoping that that this conversation has helped somebody or anyone. And if you have questions on what we're doing that may be beneficial to you, always feel free to let us know. So does anyone have anything else they would like to add?
Hi, Mike. Can you hear me?
This is Kevin. I can hear you. So
okay.
I'll flow it for you.
Eric Foster at Ramball. On the issue regarding wastewater discharge from your facility, I'm curious whether you're an indirect or direct discharger, and if you've had any issues through from your water recycling efforts of maybe concentrating things like chlorides or other inorganic parameters, just from the fact that you're trying to implement a lot of recycling.
Absolutely. Eric, that's a great question. So we are an indirect effluent material. So basically all of our effluent goes to our local PLTW for further delineation. So that is a benefit to us. So what really, from our standpoint, from our pretreatment, really what we focus on is pH adjustments, because as Michael said earlier, we do use quite a bit of hydrochloric acid at this facility. And then the other part, which is, to your point, very interesting, is we do have to use a lot of purified water. So, we're talking about reverse osmosis, and then, following it up with deionized processing of many different types in order to achieve the water quality that we need for our product and for our laboratories. With that, we spend quite a bit of time on looking at what is our loading that we're doing to our facility. Now, the other thing that's kind of interesting is, because everything is going to our PLTW, much of our water, believe it or not, is around cleaning. So we have a lot of material that really is not too advantageous to our PLTW, because it's really a lot of rinse water. So we're sort of on the other side of it, where we fear a little bit of washing out our PLTW, if you will, because we're not giving enough food, to help them support the water that we're sending their way. So we don't see as much loading from the standpoint of chlorides per se that we're removing from the facility, as much as the opportunity of just the volume of water that we're sending to our PLTW that doesn't have a lot of nutrients in it.
Great.
Yeah, and just one other thing to add to that, Eric, we do collect some of our initial rinses from our manufacturing processes, so we're not loading, and we minimize the PI impact, the pharmaceutical and the environment impact.
And I would assume you run into FDA restrictions on being able to recycle some of that water that could contact products, I guess.
Yeah, right, absolutely. And then we have to do swabbing of any type of contact surfaces to make sure there's nothing there, and that's quite routine every day in the facility, where we're swabbing surface to make sure, as Kevin said, they're almost to a sterile state.
Thank you.
Great question. Thanks, Eric. We have a few more minutes, so if anybody else has anything else that they would like to ask, feel free.
Hi, this is Rhonda Scher with Kimball International. And I have a question in regards to what tool are you utilizing to collect your sustainability data for your metrics?
That is a great question, Rhonda. So we actually have several tools that we are required to use from a global perspective. We currently track through what was called a TrackWise. It's a program that is available worldwide. In particular, it is what we call a little bit older system. So it is one that we use in order to gather that information so that we can send it to our global group, so that they can use it for the publications for the Dow Jones Sustainability Index and to our shareholders and customers alike. So a lot of our data is used primarily through the TrackWise program. So basically we take our raw data, plug it into TrackWise, and then TrackWise then does the calculations that are accepted, from the outside agencies that we're just discussing, the EU in particular, the Dow Jones. So those calculations have to meet their expectations. So it's again, the idea is to try to be as transparent as we possibly can for that. We are in the process right now of switching to Enablon. So as our rollout continues through this year, we intend to move over to the newer Enablon system. Again, with the intent of take all of our facilities worldwide and put them into one system, so it's easy to see the transparency of our process with regard to AstraZeneca throughout the world. Is that beneficial, Rhonda?
It is. Thank you very much. I have heard a lot of companies are using the Enablon.
Yes, and we are learning it. So I can say this time next year maybe I'll have something good to say. But at this stage, it's still new, so we're learning as well. Now, in the backside, we do, Rhonda, as you probably expect, we have our own spreadsheets that we've created, Excel spreadsheets to look at as well, so we can look at what's going into our TrackWise program and see if it matches what we would expect it to say through our own, facility specific tracking process. The only issue that you really get into, and it's one that we find ourselves in, is, what's the best way to track this so that you try to get more close to this ideal of, looking at a snapshot rather than wait on the month and you look at your utilization of the natural consumption, for example, natural gas or electricity. So we, as Michael was saying earlier, we are spending quite a bit of time and effort on tracking those resources internally using metering processes. So we're expanding upon that idea, of how to get a real-time snapshot of energy use when it's occurring. So it helps us to sort of look deeper into a process that may be causing, an unforeseen spike in energy use or natural gas use. So those are things that we're moving towards, but we're still on the initial cusp of that. So there's quite a bit of learning still that we'll be doing over the next few years.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions? Okay, let me share the agenda. So as you look at our agenda, we are currently at 10:35. So we only have a few more minutes left before we go into our break. So if no one else has any questions, what I will do is I will leave my chat open. So if you have questions, feel free to open a chat. I'll be glad to answer that in either by voice or through that chat. And if you want to talk offline, feel free to email me anytime. I'll be glad to help as much as I possibly can. But what I would ask is, if you would not mind, you can just leave yourself in place. We'll continue to record through the break, and then at 10:55, we will return, and I'll let Ben present the partners updates, and we'll move on from there. So we'll take basically a 20-minute break. So enjoy the few minutes that you can get away from this microphone, and we'll talk to you here in about 20 minutes. Thank you very much.
Well, Kevin, I want to thank you very much, and thank you to Michael Smith, and Chad as well. It was a wonderful presentation.
Thanks, Ben. welcome back to those that are off their break. It's 10:55 Eastern times, as we said we would start back up. So, Ben, I will hand it to you. We may need to give a few more minutes for people to come back, but we're at least on time.
Well, thank you very much, Kevin. Jennifer Collins is going to be running the slides. For me to put it on full screen, only having one monitor, I couldn't put it on full screens and have the mic as well. One comment I did want to make after Kevin and Michael and Chad had their presentation. I did a presentation a couple of years ago, and I did mention the reduction of solid waste, and we did bring up Covanta, here for Indianapolis. I did get some questions from folks. They're saying, okay, yeah, you live in central Indiana, Covanta, it's easy for you guys to get to. What about people that don't? Well, we actually have a facility in South Carolina, just a suburb of Columbia in Lexington. That facility, we wanted to try to incorporate some of the same things that we were actually able to do with Covanta, here in the Midwest. In South Carolina, there were concrete manufacturers that ran big boiler operations on their sites, and most of them, they wanted products for incineration. And so just because, Covanta may not be in your area, and we were able to send several things to that incineration facility. So, just because Covanta may not be in your area doesn't mean that there can't be another resource that, you can convert it into energy or in some cases for the concrete manufacturer, they took some of the products and converted it into aggregate. So, there are other options out there. Sometimes they're hard to find, and you got to talk to a lot of people, but there are other options available. Well, thank you very much, and thank everyone for attending this quarterly meeting. Like I had said at the beginning, I was so excited that we were going to have this that I didn't even take time to write a beginning statement for this. And thanks to Julia, she's always got a lot of great things to say, and great things that are going on in the state of Indiana. And of course, thank you to Jennifer and Jean and all the executive committee. Without everybody's help, like you said, Kevin, it takes a whole group of people to make these things happen. And thanks to everybody for their support, especially through these trying times. Okay, we can go to the next slide then. Again, thanks AstraZeneca for hosting this. It's been a wonderful learning experience. I've always been really, really intrigued with solar power. So, Kevin, you'll be getting some questions from me, as you guys get this up and running, to see how your operation's working with solar. The executive committee, my name is Ben McDonough. I'm the executive director for the partners. Ron Rosenberg is the assistant director, and for now, Krista McKenna is the interim treasurer. A list of our members for the executive committee. We will have one person leaving the executive committee, possibly in June. Steve Jacobson. He may not be in the executive committee or in the partners as of mid-June, and he'll be greatly missed. Our membership, we are strong at 104 members. As most of you know, of being partners, we hovered around the 100 member mark, for quite some time. We would go from 100 to 102 to 98 and so on. We've actually been able to grow the organization, even with COVID and all the restrictions that have been going on. Our membership has increased. I know it's very difficult for a lot of EHS folks to start projects or do projects, especially if you're working remote or you're only allowed in 1 or 2 days a week. But we have been fortunate to grow in these trying times. We have lost a couple members or in the process. We've had some companies over the last 12 months that have either changed their business model to where they will no longer be producing what they were originally producing, and will be changing the the status to hopefully stay as a member. We've also had some companies that, are actually, combining operations. And unfortunately, with some of the combining operations, that their facilities that were in Indiana will be shut down. So, even with that being said, we were able to grow the membership over the last 12 months and hope to keep that going strong in the year 2021. If you want to find the members, you want to see the member site, you can go to the website that's listed here to see, all the members that are part of the partners. You're good, Jennifer. My bad. To become a member, it's free and it's voluntary. Applications you must commit to the Partners Pledge to be inducted into the program. A contingency on having and maintaining a standard environmental compliance. Each partner is required to complete an annual APR report to obtain their membership. There is a combined annual report this year for the APRs for members that are both in the ESP program and in the Partners program. It's actually, we've worked on this a couple of times in the past, and thanks to Jennifer and Gene and the group at the compliance assistant at IDEM, they were able to combine this APR. It was due April 1st, which is approximately 13 days ago. I've not talked to Gene to see how it's going, basically because the ESP is combined with this. If you're partner only, your recertification or APR will be due June 1st, and we hope to get those in a timely manner. I understand when you're working remotely, it's tough to get all the data you may need, but please try to get these in on a timely fashion. Communication and networking with other members. Can become a partner in our LinkedIn account. It's open to anyone. We have a Microsoft Teams channel that's for partners only, and individual mentorships and collaborations. To go back up to the LinkedIn's and to the Microsoft Teams channel, I did see in some of the comments, when we were doing the survey at the beginning, people were asking about different recycling needs and these type of items. This is just, it's not, we don't just stop doing this, when we get through with our quarterly meetings or our annual conference. If you have any of these questions, the LinkedIn account and the Teams channel, that's where we can help resolve some of these and help with mentorship and collaboration. I'll take great pride in saying that Kevin's presentation from last year at our annual conference on using other means for chemical treatment in their cooling towers to eliminate algae and other forms of bacteria, we've actually incorporated at our facility. And not only does it cut our chemical costs dramatically, just the health and safety of the people that are here as well. So there's a lot of questions sometimes, and Kevin was wonderful and very helpful in helping us get this started at our facility. Okay, thank you. You can go ahead, Jennifer. There's a lot of training that's going on. The training opportunities for IDEM on the E101 presentations through the CTAP services. Try to make some of these sessions because they're very, very informative, and you can learn a lot from these 101 series. In the future series, we've got the Environmental Restriction Covenant, understanding the National Pollution Discharge Elimination Systems, permits from business perspective, portable air units and how they're being permitted, toxic release inventories on PFAS and PFOS, reporting requirements, and then stormwater requirements. Please help us grow our membership. Our LinkedIn account, you're more than welcome to join through that. And if you're not a member, to speak to other members to see how things are ran for the partners. Invite business colleagues to other companies that attend or join the group. I know we've had virtual conferences for a while, and in some cases, no quarterly meetings, and so we hope to make that pick back up in the year 2021. And you can distribute partners' materials at conferences or at meetings that you may attend, or if you know people that may want this, you can get a brochure and download it and send a brochure in that form or fashion right now. We do have 2 new members that we do want to induct into the partners. If I could, I'll read the names of the individuals that are here for the inductees. If you could please, through Hanson Aggregate, if you could please turn your cameras on and be noticed. From Hanson's, we have Randy Jones, the plant manager, Jeff Pollock, an area environmental manager, and Wendy Kraus, Midwest director of environmental sustainability. Hanson Aggregates is the largest producer of crushed stone, sand, and gravel in the U.S. The Harding Street Quarry in Indianapolis, Indiana, is an environmental stewardship council member that is monitored by the Indiana Minerals and Aggregate Association. They have received several outstanding environmental awards over the years. The facility was acquired and has been in production since 1999. Well, thank you very much for becoming a member. Our next new member is the St. Joseph's Energy Center. So if any of the individuals are online, if they would like to turn their cameras on. We have accepting the inductees is Amy Scott, the administrative assistant, Adams Green, the HEE engineer, Scott Jeffries, the plant manager, and Abigail Werner, the plant engineer intern. St. Joseph's Energy is a natural gas-fired combined cycle energy power regeneration station located in New Carlisle, Indiana. The facility utilizes cutting-edge pollution control technology to protect air and water resources. They combine electrical energy output is 725 megawatts of safe and reliable power, which is transmitted into the PJM interconnection grid. St. Joseph's Energy has been in operation since 2018. Save the dates for our quarterly meetings. We are hoping to have a June quarterly meeting. We do have a proposed facility, which would be the Michigan City Sanitary District. This will more than likely be a virtual meeting. This will probably not be an on-site meeting. This will, of course, they're located in Michigan City, and I'm working with the folks at the POTW getting this set up now. Our December meeting is also proposed at Hanson Aggregate in Indianapolis. I know December may say, okay, why do you want to tour a facility in the middle of the winter time? We will have an off-site facility that we can actually, host a quarterly meeting and then go on site for the tour. It's still to be determined for 2022. We did have a lot of people that were interested in hosting, of course, this year and again next year. But with the COVID restrictions, a lot of facilities are not allowed to have recordings in their facilities, or in some cases, don't have the resources. Hopefully in 2022 that we can get back to whatever our standard normal will be. And if you're interested in hosting, please contact it at the IDEM link listed below, or you can contact myself as well. Our annual conference, Unmask Your Pollution Prevention Possibilities. We will be sending out our information on sponsorship information, coming soon. The date is, as we saw in the at the beginning, it is in September 23rd of 2021. We would like to have this as a virtual or as a in-person conference. And I think, Jennifer, the next slides we're asking, we would like to have this as an in-person conference. To do this, it doesn't make any sense for us to have an in-person conference if people are not allowed to attend this conference. So if you would put in the chat box, if you are able to attend this conference in September, if we can have an in-person conference. Gene has just posted a link to where we can actually, you can put your response in the chat box, because we want to have an in-person, and so does everybody else, but it does not make any sense to have one if nobody else can attend. So, please take this poll, because we want to be able to do the right thing, for our members and the surrounding communities. Again, we want to thank AstraZeneca for hosting this quarterly meeting. And next up will actually be Kelly Wickard, Sustainability Lead and Project Manager for Purdue Manufacturing Extension Partnership. Kelly, if you would like to take over the screen, it's all yours.
All right, wonderful. I've got a brief slideshow here that I'm going to share with you. Can you see the slide screen?
Yes, we can.
Yes. Okay, great. Briefly, I'm here to just share a quick update on the waste stream mapping program. This is something that Purdue MEP is facilitating in partnership with IDEM. This is an EPA grant-funded program, and something that's a pretty great opportunity. So briefly, I want to explain what waste stream mapping is, because it's a key part of the component of the grant, and then I'll give you a quick update on that. So when we talk about waste with this acronym, Purdue developed this waste stream mapping training a while ago, I guess maybe a decade ago or so. So we're talking about what we refer to as the 5 environmental wastes. So water, air, solids, toxicity, and energy. So with that in mind, waste stream mapping is a process originally born from lean value stream mapping, from those of you that are familiar with that. So similar concept, different tool. But the idea of looking at all of the steps that we go through within our manufacturing facilities and other facilities, and identifying where there might be some opportunities for making improvements. So first, understanding the volumes that we are creating, or the amounts that we're creating in different type of environmental wastes, and then identifying some of the solutions, not just the low-hanging fruit, obvious solutions, but really trying to work up towards how do we prevent creating that waste in the first place. So that's the overall concept of waste stream mapping. This is an example of what that can look like. So you can see in this example, there are multiple steps for each one of those. We would identify and quantify the inputs, and then we would do the same for the wastes or the outputs. So the process, first we identify what the elements are, we understand what those relationships are between those different process steps, identify the inputs and outputs, and then we have to gather the data. So the cool part about this tool is that when we're doing it for the grant, we're not just providing the training, we're actually doing the work and starting to collect data on site and get real projects for companies. So the teams that participate in the training would collect that information both internally and using, suppliers, contractors, third-party providers, and other experts. And then we get an overall understanding of what we're looking at here so that we can see where there are some key opportunities. So the grant program itself was announced last year. We've got, basically it's the 2-day waste stream mapping training. After the training is completed, which usually takes place over about 2 weeks or so. So there's day 1, training, data collection, some time to continue that data collection, and then we reconvene for day 2 to ultimately whittle down which projects are viable and which ones the company would like to proceed forward with. From there, they can get up to 40 hours of technical assistance by Purdue faculty. So it's a program that we have, which is available. And there's also an opportunity for those companies to apply for seed funding through a program that IDEM offers. And then from there, the company is taking over the projects and continuing to implement the work. The goal, of course, is to see projects implemented so that we can then track those impacts and the company can see real results, which we then report back through to the EPA. There are a total of 15 grant awards with this program. Currently, we have 8 companies that are accepted. It is a rolling acceptance, so you can apply today, you can apply anytime until those slots are completely filled. We have completed 3 of the waste stream mapping training grants so far, and we've got 5 more that are either in progress or waiting to be scheduled. So we do still have 6 slots available if your company is interested and think that you might have some opportunity. I would say a couple of the key things are, questions that we ask when somebody applies during the interview process is, do you have the resources available? Is everybody wearing 3 hats and nobody could actually dedicate 2 days to on-site training? In which case it might not be a good fit. So we have to have the time and the ability to really see this through and apply what we teach during this training so that we can get the results that we're looking for. So an example just to help give you some idea of what this looks like, because it really is very broad. There's a very diverse range of potential project results. So one company that we've done this waste stream mapping with, got a lot more examples, but not enough time. They ended up having a project looking at how they mop their floors. And it seems kind of like no big deal, but they were collecting a lot of, oil and different materials that were contaminating their water. And long story short, they ended up switching their soap, which enabled them to switch how they were handling that contaminated wastewater. They ended up saving $31,000 in purchase costs, $20,000 in energy costs because they deactivated basically a large dehydrator. And they were able to reduce 87,000 gallons of water consumption by putting in a gray water system. And they had another 15,000 in chemical treatment cost savings. So unusual project, and we often get a lot of really interesting projects from it. So that's the quick update. We have those 6 slots available. If you're interested, you can email me directly, wickard@purdue.edu, or you can apply online at the link that you see there. And that's it. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer those, or we can just move on with the agenda.
If you have any questions while we're still online, you can always put messages in the chat box, and Kelly can get them from there. Next, I would like to introduce Erin Morehouse. Erin, like Julie had said earlier, is the IDEM legislative liaison. It looks like you're all set up and ready to go, Erin, so I'll turn it over to you.
Erin, you need to unmic. You need to put your mic on.
My apologies. So I'm Erin Morehouse, and I am the Business and Legislative Liaison here for IDEM. I just want to talk briefly about some legislative updates and the 3 bills that we've been watching, a little bit about the legislative process, and then I can take any questions about bills or anything that you've heard that you want to discuss. And then with whatever time that I have left, I can discuss going through the navigating the IGA website. So to start, the legislative session for 2021 is planned to end on April 21st, but it could go until April 29th. And this year they will not be adjourning sine die like they normally do. They're just going to recess until the fall of the gavel, because this year is redistricting. So they will come back in the summer and they will redraw the House and Senate districts. So then a couple of dates that are kind of important is the committee hearing deadline was April 8th. So any bills that did not get a hearing before April 8th were considered dead. And then the second reading deadline was April 12th. So any bills that did not go before the House floor by April 12th were considered dead. And then third reading deadline was April 13th. And that's any bills that were not voted on by the House by April 13th are considered dead. So now conference committees are going on. So any bills that have been altered or changed in either of the House or Senate, the author of that bill has the right to confirm or consent to the changes that this House or Senate made, or they can dissent on those changes. And that means that the bill will then go to conference committee and be worked out there. So a couple of bills that I thought I would walk through real quick that you all may have some interest in is Senate Enrolled Act 271, which is IDEM's agency bill. And this bill has multiple sections in it. The first one removes IDEM's requirement to approve tax exemptions for industrial waste control devices. And instead of IDEM doing that, they're giving that to the county assessor. The second part is it allows the list of impaired waters to be posted on IDEM's website, and they can just post a link on IDEM's website. And also it reduces the public comment period to 45 days. Another part is IDEM is going to be working on a rule to take over the permitting program for coal combustion residual landfills and surface impoundments. So according to EPA, they had to start the closure process on April 11th. So then IDEM will just be monitoring and taking over the 30-year required monitoring if they're doing the closing, or if they're removing the CCR material and completely removing it and taking it to a landfill. Those landfills are permitted and monitored by IDEM. So then the final part of this bill is giving IDEM a little bit more time to do our fees by rule. In 2019, House Enrolled Act 1278 passed and allowed IDEM to make up their budgetary shortfalls with increasing permit fees through the Environmental Rules Board. This was essential because so many of our permits have zero cost to the applicant. Compared to other states, it's 100% more than what we have. So our goal was to assess those fees, and we did a study, and so we know how much we can relatively charge for those fees, and that's just giving us a little bit more time because of COVID. Everything just got slowed down with the rulemaking. So then another bill is Senate Bill 303, which is labeling E15 at the gas pump. So it also updates the read vapor pressure requirements in code. But basically it just adds a label on the gas pump that says, attention E15, check owner's manual for compatibility and requirements. So this is super important because there are so many vehicles, including like motorcycles can't take E15, and a lot of even newer vehicles can't take E15. So it's important that people are really checking and ensuring that their car can handle this before they put it in their car. Because right now you can put up to E10 in all cars, and gasoline can contain up to 10% ethanol currently without having to put any kind of warning on it. But it's also important because first generation underground storage tanks can't hold any ethanol, and second generation tanks can only hold up to 10% ethanol. So this label is super important for the consumers and the tank owners. So we're supportive of that as well. And then finally, Senate Bill 389 is probably something that you've all heard about on, all platforms, social media, and the news, everything. This has been a lot of work for our agency and has required so many stakeholders' input, and the bill changed. The bill started out as bad, and then we worked together to come up with some ideas, and the bill came out of committee in a form that we really liked, and now the bill has passed in a form that we really don't like at all. So I was just going to talk briefly about everything that's contained in that bill, and then if you have any questions, I'm happy to go back over it. So this bill adds a definition for cropland. We heard from the farmers that their biggest issue with wetlands is that they're having a hard time plowing their field because it has a wetland somewhere or a wet spot. So we thought, that's a fair argument, and we should definitely work to exempt that. So we've worked to exempt cropland and class 1 wetlands. So they also wanted to codify ephemeral stream language, whereas this kind of changes with the definition of waters of the U.S., so the WOTUS definition, and it varies by administration, so it causes a lot of confusion when the administration changes. This bill also changes the exemption size of class 2 wetlands and completely removes the requirement to permit or mitigate for class 1 wetlands. So this also codifies the need for wetland delineations to be performed by the Army Corps of Engineers. And the Army Corps of Engineers is the only entity that can determine if a wetland is a state regulated wetland or a federally regulated wetland, which also causes a lot of confusion. This also reduces the compensatory mitigation ratios and in lieu fee from 1.5 to 1 in class 2 and 2 to 1 in class 3 wetlands. And then it also establishes a task force. So this is going to be a 14-member task force to work together this summer to study the issue and come up with alternatives to the wetlands issue and the wetlands confusion. So we're hopeful that maybe this task force can come up with some alternative that everyone would be okay with in the future, but right now the wetland regulation is completely eliminated for class 1, and this bill is passed and concurred by the Senate author. So the next step for this bill is going to be the governor can either choose to sign or veto this bill. So those are the 3 major bills that we've been watching, and I'm happy to answer any questions, and I've also provided my contact information. I was trying to be a little bit more brief because I know that everyone may not have a vested interest in wetlands, but are there any questions about the legislative process or anything that any of the bills that I just talked about?
Yes, there's a question on the E15. Is the reason the labeling bill was put in place is because E15 has to be sold? That was told by the federal government, or is this just an anticipation of that happening?
This is in anticipation of that happening. But they wanted to ensure that when it happens, that it's labeled properly for the consumer protection. Because like I said, a lot of vehicles like lawn equipment can't take E15, motorcycles can't take E15, and a lot of like cars 2008 or newer, most of them can, but not all of them can. However, the ethanol industry is very opposed to this bill, and you've probably seen on Facebook and everything that they're trying to convince the governor to veto this bill because they feel that it the warning label discourages consumers from choosing E15. But Senator Messmer, who's the author, he argues that, this is for consumer protection. So that's the deal with Senate Bill 303.
Hey, Aaron, this is Kevin. There's a chat. It's basically a three-part question. The first one is, can you expand on the CCR landfill bill?
Yes. So, the utility companies that have these CCR impoundments, they're required to close the CCR impoundments or begin the closure process with creating a closure plan starting April 11th. So that they should already be kind of working on that. And right now those impoundments are covered under the EPA. So the EPA is in charge of that. But the utility companies want IDEM to be in charge of their monitoring, just because they feel like the state is easier to work with than the feds, which, I mean, it's up to interpretation. But we've talked about it briefly, and we've talked about it with the utility companies, and we feel like we would regulate the program very similar to how EPA does. And it won't require a ton of extra time on IDEM's part, because these are likely going to already be closed or in the closure process by the time that we get the program. So IDEM is going to have to, after this bill is passed and begins on July, or I think it's effective immediately. So we will have to start the rulemaking process, and the rulemaking process takes a minimum of 16 months, just because the process, they want to ensure that there's a legislative session within the process so that, legislators can, stop IDEM if they're making a bad decision or something. But so after the 16-month minimum rulemaking is created, then we'll start hiring people and we'll start doing this program.
Thanks, Aaron. And then I think you answered the second and third part of that. The other one was, is it going to be heard? And then will there be changes? So I think you answered those. Thanks, Aaron.
Mm-hmm.
I had another question, but it wasn't on any of the ones you presented.
Yep.
I had heard through the utilities in one of my utility webinars that the state had been dictating more renewable energy requirements. I'm not sure that came from the legislature or it came from the regulatory commission. I didn't know if you knew anything about it. Does that come through the regulatory commission only, and it doesn't come through the legislature when you're talking about energy mix? Didn't know if you knew anything about it. It's a little bit off what you presented.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not familiar with that. But you may want to talk to like the IURC, and they would be able to direct you to where that would be.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Okay. Well, I think I will now kind of show you how to navigate the IGA website. So there's a couple of things that I was going to show you how to do, how to look up a bill number. So you can, on the iga.in.gov, on the main page over here, there is the list of all of the committees that will be presenting that day. And you can click on this little camera if you want to watch it, and it'll pull it up the live stream version. And there's also the House session and the Senate session that you can just click on this little camera and you can watch it. Then, so if you wanted to look up a bill, you would click here, and then you can just type in the number of the bill that you want to look up, and it'll pull the bill up. So then, say you wanted to read this bill, you would go to the latest version, and this would tell you that it was updated on April 12th, so you know that that's been reprinted since the bill has passed. And you can scroll all the way down and read the bill entirely. And then if you just want a really quick summary of the bill, something that I like to do and that a lot of people don't realize is the easiest is not necessarily reading the synopsis, because the synopsis may not always be correct, because multiple people write it, and if they don't understand the bill in its entirety, it's not super edited, or and it's not always correct. So I'll go to the latest fiscal note, which obviously provides the fiscal impact of the bill, but it also provides a really good summary of the bill. And I think it's so much easier to read the fiscal note than it is to read the bill, especially if you're not an expert on the topics within the bill. So that's super helpful, and it also will tell you which all agencies are involved in that bill, so you can reach out to them if you have questions about the bill, which is helpful. And then I'll show you how to look at all the bills that have been filed and then the ones that are marked as dead. So you can click on legislation and go to bills. And this will show you all the bills that were filed in the 2021 session. So anything blue means that it's still alive, and anything gray means that the bill has died because it didn't get a hearing, or the legislators decided not to pursue it anymore. And you can also click up here in the corner and you can look at bills from other previous sessions. So that's helpful because, like I was talking about, our House Enrolled Act 1278 passed in 2019. So I can look here and find the language from House Enrolled Act 1278. Great. So then I'll also show you how to check the schedules. So when a bill is going to be heard, if there's a bill that you're watching, you can look at the latest Senate calendar and the latest House calendar, which today there's no calendar, it appears. Here's the House one. So this is all the bills that will be heard today during session in the House. So this is really easy because they usually go in order, and it's easy to follow along and know if there's a bill that you're watching, you'll know exactly when it will be heard. So then I will also show you how to check the conference committee schedules, because like I said, conference committees are the only thing that's going on right now, because the second reading deadline, committee deadline, and third reading deadline have all passed. So you'll want to check the conference committee grid. You go to committees, conference committee grid, And this will tell you all the bills that are in conference committee and who's on the conference committee. So this is really helpful too when you're trying to track a bill. And that's all that I have. Is there any questions about navigating the website or anything that you want me to show you how to do?
Thanks, Aaron.
Mhm. Are there any other questions about any other bills that you've heard about or want me to look up for you? Okay. Julia, do you have anything to add about legislative session?
I don't, Aaron. Just my prior comments that it's been interesting and kind of a ping pong game of who's on first, and just watching it all kind of unfold in front of us. I think, when I think about the environment and this particular Senate Bill 389 is one that really could have long-term effects. And I know our staff, as well as a very large cadre of organizations across Indiana, have been working closely with the legislature to educate and inform. And so obviously, since the author has concurred, then it does go to the governor's office, and it'll be interesting to see what happens there. And then ultimately, how this task force, if that's the will, how that all comes together and moves forward. I just think it's a really important piece of legislation that's kind of indicative of kind of where things are right now, and kind of the unrest that's there, kind of across the state and country. So if you do need more information, and I'm talking to the partners, I think Aaron's just shown you 3 bills that we've tracked. I'm tracking a lot of agricultural legislation, and I'm sure all of you individually are tracking some things that impact your particular industry. So if Aaron can be of a resource to you as a partner, and as our agency is very much involved with the organization, we want to certainly be assistance to you. So we'd love to have your feedback as we get the survey out on things that we can help with. From a legislative standpoint, if there are things that we can take from all of our partners in future sessions and consider of how that might be helpful for all of you, that's certainly something we'd be interested in hearing from you about. So, but thanks, Aaron, for joining us today.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Kevin, do you want to take us through how to go to the virtual tour again?
Sure. So let me present, hopefully. Okay, so hopefully you all are seeing my team screen. So if you just want to look at the files and you're actually in the Teams access, you can actually click on the tab for each one. So our cafe tour, for example, is shown in this tab. The virtual tour of our facility is on the second tab next to that. It is a PowerPoint presentation because, as you can guess, Microsoft is working on technology right now of being able to stream outside of your organization, but currently you cannot stream outside your organization using Teams. So they are working on that from a programming perspective, but the workaround that I used was to put it into a PowerPoint, embed the video there. So if you can access it and see it, then that's fantastic. If you cannot, if you go to the files, you'll see a video that's there in MP4 that you should be able to play on your MP4 player. I will tell you it is a fairly large file. So if you're on somewhat of a slow stream to upload videos, it may take several minutes before you're able to access that. So that's why I said that you could do that on your own if you have access to this. In the meantime, between now and noon Eastern time, which is the next 14 minutes, what I thought I would do is give Ben, and the team, a chance to say, anything that they want to go through. And then for the last 10 minutes or so, I'll walk you through on my machine for those that don't want to access it on theirs through our cafe tour, and I'll also play the virtual tour. So Ben, any questions on that or anything you want to add to that? And I'll let you take over for the closing.
Okay, thank you very much, Kevin. No, I don't have any questions. The virtual tour, I was able to go to the link and click on it and watch it very easily. I didn't try to download the MP4. I get it; it could take a little bit, but please take time to watch the file. First of all, and most important, Kevin, Chad, thank you very much for the hosting the quarterly meeting. It's been a wonderful morning. It seems like these last 3 hours went real quick. There was a lot of good interaction from our partner members and other members. I would like to ask that in the chat box, Gene Fix has just put up the survey again to see if you're able to go in person to our annual conference. If you could, please go over to that. That's nothing more than clicking on the link. It asks you one question, yes, no, or other. Click on it. If you don't know, please click on it and go to the others and say, you don't know at this time. But it's real important that we understand what we're doing is actually going to be right for the members. Other than that, it's been a wonderful quarterly meeting. I've really enjoyed the presentations. Thank you to the folks at IDEM and from the executive committee, along with AstraZeneca. Aaron, thank you very much for your presentation, and Kelly, yours as well. Other than that, Kevin, if you want to try to help people through or even play it over the next 15 minutes, feel free to do that. I know Jennifer just had one, one thing that she put on. So other than that, that's all I have. So thank you very much for attending the quarterly meeting, and hope to talk to you again in June and see everyone in September. So thank you very much, and it's up to you, Kevin.
My machine, for whatever reasons, is slowing down, so I think I may be overheating it. So thanks Ben for everything. Thanks to IDEM. Thanks to the partners for allowing us to host this meeting. We hope everybody was able to get something out of this. Again, feel free to to contact us by the chat or by email. We will allow this team to stay open for a while, and then we will take it off as you would expect from a security perspective. But we will allow it to stay open for at least the next few weeks, so individuals can actually access the files and take a look at things that were presented today. So I will start if
Hey,
everybody
Kevin,
has access. Yes.
can I just make a quick announcement?
Oh, absolutely.
Please? Yes. Sorry. This is Jennifer Collins, and thank you all for attending. We will just wanted to remind you that the APRs are due on June 1st, as was mentioned in the partners presentation. And if you need assistance with those, please do reach out to us and let us know before the deadline. We can help you through those if you're having any trouble filling those out. Also, I wanted to just mention that reminder that Kelly has those spots open, and I think that one thing that she didn't mention was there is a fee of $1,500 to participate in that, but it is a great service, and you really do receive a lot of value in return on investment for your time and your money. And so, thank you so much for hosting AstraZeneca, and we really do appreciate all of the work that you put into this. And the presentations will be on the partners teams channel. So once Kevin takes that down on his side, you can find these presentations and videos on our new team site. Thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Hey, Kevin, sorry. This is
Yes.
Jean Fix. I just wanted to make note that I did put a link to our quarterly meeting evaluation in the chat. I would really appreciate, we would all appreciate it, that everyone go in. There's just a very few questions. It won't take a lot of your time, but this will help us not only get an idea of how wonderful this meeting was, but also what you would like to see in the future. So thank you everyone for joining. Much appreciated.
Thanks, Gene. Yeah, I'm glad you said it because I was looking at that saying, I've been to make sure that I tell everybody to look in your chat for that quarterly meeting evaluation link. So, as Gene said, it is very important. It gives us all a voice for our membership in the partners. So, please take just a few minutes, fill out the information that as best you can to your perspective, and it'll help us with future events. So without further ado, I will take you through the thought process of our tours, and then I'll play the virtual tour. I will tell you, if you do not hear sound, be thankful, because we are using royalty-free material as you will expect us to, and so in my mind, you may say, "What in the world were you using for sound?" But I will tell you, it was free sound. So you might be glad that your speakers are not working in some situations. So for those that are participating on the tour from my machine, this is a new technique that we used to highlight our new cafeteria. It was in particular to help our membership understand what was available. But it was also an opportunity for us to trial new technology, which we are finding very user friendly for the potential of creating facility tours as well. So this is new for us that we're trialing, but we did find it to be very informative. And because of that, I wanted to show it from that perspective to give you an idea of some new technology that's out there with regard to being able to dive a little deeper into the tour. But then the second thing is I really wanted to highlight the cafeteria because of some of the sustainability things that we were doing. So I thought I would walk you through this and give you kind of the idea of what we're doing at AstraZeneca. And then if you have questions, feel free now to come off mic and we could talk about that as I move through this tour. I'll make it as interactive as I possibly can. And then, as I said, I'll play the virtual tour, and that will be it for our conference today. So as we walk into our cafeteria, you will notice that in many of our cases, this is again specific to the type of refreshments and nourishment that we're able to provide for our membership. In particular, from a sustainability perspective, one thing that we really focused on with this was the idea of trying to minimize, one-use plastics. We have not eliminated them, as you'll see here in a few minutes, but again, our goal was to try to minimize the use of those plastics. We do have recycle bins that are readily available throughout our cafeteria, so we are recycling as much as possible. But the other thing that was very interesting with our process was with COVID, we were using prior to COVID, we were using reusable plates and ceramics as well as metal forks and utensils. But as we were looking at our vending solutions, we decided that maybe the thing to do was to use compostable utensils and compostable eating fragments. So basically our paper plates and the boxes and such. So as we were working with and continue to work with composting vendors in our area, one things that we identified is with the food scraps, we could literally take all of this and go straight to compost, and then in 8 to 12 months start seeing some revenue, if you will, from the compost. Not necessarily economic revenue, but more from a standpoint of an environmental revenue. So we'll actually be generating material that we can either use on site or donate to our local, elementary schools down the street. So there's things that we have the ability to do with that. So as we walk through our cafeteria, what you'll notice is with our drink containers now, we are using paper product. Yes, it does have some plastic in it because it is coated. But what we're trying to do again was to focus upon this idea that that we will use that we can use. Sorry, so that we could use material that is compostable. As you notice, we do try to make sure we have all the availability for everyone. The other thing that was interesting is because this is a 24/5 cafeteria, much of our stuff is now done electronically. So we have tried to get away from, from the use of cash. So everything here now is by count. So as you scan your item, everything now is emailed. If you want a receipt, there's very few people that receive receipts from this machine. So again, it's another way that we reduce our overall waste generation from this cafeteria. As you then move into our cafeteria, what you'll notice is, yes, we still have our food products that are here for those individuals that were not able to catch a hot meal. They still have the ability to grab a snack, a candy, whatever it may be. But then the other thing that's really nice is as you then come through the cafeteria, what you will notice is that all of our recyclables are collected in these areas right here. So the intent and the value of this, of course, is that we're trying to keep everything close as you're working through the cafeteria so that it drives good behavior, just putting that waste into a segregated bin so that we can then take it and go to one stream. So we've really worked diligently to try to streamline this process as much as possible. As you will notice through our cafeteria, for COVID purposes, all of our seatings are, isolated so that our individuals can remove their masks to eat and feel fairly confident that they're in a safe environment. Our utensil area or our condiments area, again, is self-packaged, and that's due to COVID that we've done this. And when it's not in place, we do use more bulk material, but at this stage, we do have to use packaged materials. Does anyone have any questions with regard to our cafeteria? And the one thing that I did not say, what you will notice is we have a lot of natural light that we use to help light our cafeteria. So we do not have to use a lot of light at the ceiling level. Our lighting is LED, so that does help us, and we continue to work on improving that. The other thing is what we found with our cafeteria prior to COVID is that it was a great place to meet. So we would have a lot of our meetings in the cafeteria, and because of that, we do focus upon, again, trying to make it as light as possible, and as well as give individuals a location where they find it favorable to have a meeting and to be able to have formal or informal communications. So if no one has any questions, then I will move to the virtual tour. And I do not guarantee there will be sound with this. So if there is no sound, be glad. Okay, so that was a 2.5-minute tour that if we were on site would have taken us over an hour to do. So I hope everyone enjoyed that stayed on to participate in the tours. If you have any questions, again, feel free to speak up now, or if you want to leave it in the chat, that's perfectly fine too. We will make the recording of this available to IDEM as well as the presentation material. So I hope everybody has a great rest of the afternoon. Thanks for participating, allow us to host this meeting. We do find great value in being a member of this partner, and look forward to future endeavors. So I hope everybody has a great week, rest of the week, and a great night. So have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks very much.
Thank you.